Can you hear me okay? Is this a good volume for everyone? All right. Thank you all for coming to our SGD capstone presentation. This is our first capstone presentation back since COVID, so we're all very excited to finally be back in person. That's, I think, applause, yay. We appreciate that everyone had been following us online, but there is nothing quite like the in-person experience, I think, especially for the teams getting that face-to-face feedback. So one thing I do want to mention is if you haven't done so already, please make sure you scan one of these QR codes. This is a link to our digital program guide, which has links to all of the teams' websites and a little word about them. But the most important thing it does have is at the bottom, there's a link to a form to give feedback to all the teams. So as you watch the presentations, as you go around and play the games, we do appreciate that people give feedback for the teams to learn and grow from. So first, I would also like to give a thanks to all of our family and friends out there and the local community for supporting this program and coming out to see our students. And I'd also like to thank our developers. There are several game developers I know in the audience that came out to give feedback. I think there's a whole bunch online watching us too, so thank you for participating with us. I also would like to thank the Wake Tech in general, our support staff, Dr. Rawls and Brian Ryan and other senior admins who have been very supportive of our program. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to present here. Last, I do also want to thank all the SGD instructors. They can wave. Yes, I know they're shy. And yeah. Our students would not be here without their support and knowledge throughout the years. Is there a female? Sorry. 1 second, sorry. This is the only mic. I think this is the only mic. Okay, we continue. So yeah, we did things a little bit differently this year, where rather than just letting the students kind of pick exactly what they wanted to do, we did it game jam style, which if you're a developer, you know what a game jam is. If you're not a developer, a game jam is where you get a theme that you have to try to build a game around. And this year's theme was break the rules. So each team got to interpret break the rules however they wanted, and you kind of saw their interpretation of that theme. So I definitely feel that the quality was up this year. We have a lot of great games. I think every year we keep getting better and better. So I think the teams deserve a little applause for that too. We had 6 teams this year that made it all the way through, and they had a total of 9 weeks. And the stat I did want to share with you was that we tracked how many working hours our teams did, so how many man hours did each person put in. With all 6 teams, the grand total number of working hours for 9 weeks was 4,300 hours. So 4,300 hours are in this room. So yes, they put in a lot of work. So let's see. Okay, so we're just going to kick it off. We're just going to go through all the teams. First up is Vermilion with their game Iconoclast.
Hi, we are Vermilion Games, and we made a game to fit the theme of the class, which was break the rules, and we interpreted that literally. So In the world we created for the game, in the setting, there are clay sculptures animated by magic and bound magically using clay tablets to follow certain rules. And that is a mechanic by which you unlock different movement abilities, such as jumping, crouching, and dashing, and you have to unlock those to progress. So, I did the programming for the puzzles in the game. I also came up with most of the details for the setting I mentioned, and wrote most of the dialogue, and composed the music as well.
Hello, I'm Samantha Burke. I created the character designs, character models, as well as the animations for the characters. I also worked on a few props for the game.
Hi, my name is Ian Lane. I work on the level design, environment design, as well as prop modeling, visual effects, and lighting.
And my name is Hunter Skipper. I was the lead gameplay programmer for our game, Iconoclast, and I also chipped in with the UI programming.
I'm Jacob Tyner, and I helped design and build levels 2 and 3, and I also helped model some of the assets.
Hey, I'm Colin McLennan. I'm a programmer. I did the AI programming and animation implementation.
I believe it's important for a game to have a setting with its own identity. To achieve this, I invented a few words and corresponding symbols, which were put onto the tablets. I also created a few details about the civilization, naming it the Donactus Empire, and about how the living statues called Gorilla were created. I decided they would be created using blood magic. To add to the sense of evil the player gets from the Donactus Empire. Though this is not actually depicted in the game, I was also responsible for the game's sound design. I used sound effects to create a sense of physicality. Walking, dashing, jumping, and so on, everything has a corresponding sound. I composed 4 pieces of music, one for the menu and one for each of the levels. The music can only change when the current piece ends, as cutting off a piece of music in the middle undermines the structural integrity. This can lead to musical lag, but the pieces are short enough this isn't too important.
My main role was designing, modeling, and animating all the characters throughout the game. Early on, the team agreed that the NPCs in the game, called the Gorilla, would be animated statues, given life and being forced to work. I came up with several designs using different materials. I feel like the clay does a good job showing off the really harsh conditions the characters are living in, and you can see the scrapes and cracks all over. Making the guard designs was fairly simple, as they take a lot of inspiration from medieval armor. I did give them one ominous glowing eye to make the design much more interesting, but also to make them much more threatening. I was hoping that this would convey that these were characters that you needed to avoid. Overall, I'm very happy with how these characters turned out.
The goal for level 1 was to create an environment which felt like servants' quarters, but also to make it feel like it was part of something grander, but at the forest level. I was responsible for level design, as I was creating and assembling the modular assets and props. Many of the simpler props were used to bring life to the level. However, the doors, crates, and barrels were not only to act as props, but also as obstacles for the player. Level 2 was more of a collaboration between me and Jacob. He built the initial version of the level. However, I expanded upon his ideas for the level, where the player has much more freedom of choice, and also to make it feel more grand as a palace. I produced the window assets, enlarged the level, and also added a throne room to make sure it contrasts much more heavily to the claustrophobic level 1. I also did the lighting and produced the majority of the visual effects in the game to immerse the player more into the environment.
For level 2, I really wanted the player to feel like they were in this elaborate palace, full of guards and things only the rich can really afford to do. So I chose to use a lot of marble and polished wood materials and give the whole place very high ceilings. To make it look more possible, I created a pillar that you see in the main hallway and in the throne room to help support the ceilings. I also created the bells and the Simon Says puzzle at the very end, basing it off the old game of the same name. After that, I wanted the player to get some experience with the outdoors. So I created a large, well-kept garden for the player to explore and solve the final puzzle that you see in the middle. This puzzle uses both the symbols you see on the tablets throughout the game, as well as an order displayed on the fountain in the center. After solving the puzzle, the player will finally be able to escape.
My main role early on was writing code that drives the player character. This involved setting up basic first-person movement, as well as 3 unlockable abilities: a jump, a dash, and a crouch. A lot of work went into adjusting the player character's walk speed and jump height, as well as the distance covered by their dash. It was important that moving through the different levels felt fun. I also wrote code to track the player character's collisions with different objects and allow them to interact with the various objects and NPCs in the game. Later on, I added some camera effects, including a field of view change while the player character is dashing, and a toggleable head nod effect. Toward the end, I also pitched in to help with the UI programming, as well as writing a script that would make platforms swing back and forth in order to make the game world feel less static.
I had the task of programming the puzzles which the player must complete. First with the tablets. I used one script to break the tablets, and another to keep track of which ones had been broken. I used the code Hunter wrote to handle interacting with these, as well as the other 2 puzzles. Second, I had the program Simon Says. I used a single script for this, which is attached to the button that's used to show you the order you're supposed to ring them in. It starts by generating an array of 4 numbers, which are either 1, 2, or 3. When you press the button, it uses the array to ring the bells in the right order. When you ring a bell, it checks against the array to see if you're ringing the right one. Last was what we call the fountain puzzle. I used 3 different scripts, one for the buttons, one for the pillars, and one for the fountain. This was the simplest and fastest way to do this, while also being effective. I also did most of the programming for the UI, but there's not as much to talk about there, except that I used player preferences to store mouse sensitivity, music volume, and sound effect volume.
I did AI programming and animation implementation with state machines. I believe that player feedback is important while playing a game, so I wanted to make the NPCs as interactable and realistic in their patterns as possible. You can interact with maids and they will tell you stories about the world and make the environment feel alive. Maids will switch between default idle states such as sweeping or standing and move to a talk animation when you interact with them. Guards have a set patrol route, and when you come into their range, they will say a line of dialogue and try and catch you.
Thank you so much for coming out and giving us your attention for our presentation on Iconoclast.
If you check out our edge.io page, you will also be able to play the game for yourself on your own computer at home.
You can find links to all of our individual portfolios on the Vermilion Games website, which is linked in the digital program.
If you haven't gotten a chance to try your game, we're located to the left of the room, and we'd love to see you.
We have candy for anyone who can beat the entirety of the game, as well as some paper cutouts of the characters that you can fold up.
Thank you once again for your time, and we hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Vermilion. The next team up is Manic Media with a steampunk themed game.
Hey everyone, we're Manic Media. We're presenting our game, Mechanical Mayhem. First, let's all introduce ourselves. I'm Maxwell Elliott, and I do all the programming and the tech art for the game.
Hello, my name is Zach, and I contributed to the rigging, modeling, and animation of our game.
Hi, my name is Alice. I'm the team manager, and I'm an artist for the game. I mostly work on modeling, texturing, and UI design. And following, we're going to have a short video play, and basically just explains what our game is.
Our story follows an unnamed rebel traversing a steampunk robot factory on the sole mission of destroying everything within. Along the way, they must find gears, swing over toxic waste, and fight insectoid drones. Throughout this mission, the player will be equipped with a stolen tool that can be used to move and fling objects, swing the player from platform to platform, and laser down the onslaught of robots.
Alongside this tool, the player also has the ability to dash up to 2 times back-to-back, so they can both outmaneuver the robots, along with more quickly traversing from room to room. Also, alongside the laser weapon, the player is free to punch enemies with their gloved fists. This melee attack can do a lot of damage to a spider directly in front of the player, but might not always be the best decision for fighting larger hordes. In that case, the player might find it more advantageous to dash or swing away to reposition and begin lasering down the enemies.
The spider enemy can only attack up close, but has the ability to scale walls, move swiftly, and is highly efficient pathfinder when the player has been sensed, so they can be quite a threat regardless of where the player is.
When the player does get sensed by one of these enemies, all nearby alarms will be sounded, and metal doors will slam shut until every enemy in the room has been defeated. Once they have, the doors will raise. Some other doors do not have these alarms, and the player will need to find another way to get through them. In some instances, that involves collecting the 3 gears and placing them in a compartment overhead. In other instances, that means finding a heavy metal crate and flinging it through the wooden doors.
The levels are segmented in many ways. The main rooms in each level are large-scale combat arenas for encounters with the robots. Each of these rooms is separated by a platform hallway segment that reinforces the movement mechanics provided to the player. And finally, every level is segmented by the player milestone of the wing double door.
And of course, that all leads up to our final boss stage, an octagonal arena that the player cannot escape from. Here lies a larger, more powerful enemy for our courageous players to face.
Finally, we'd also like to thank Professor Johnson and Professor Turner for helping guide us through the game development process.
And another special thanks to Maria Montezuma and Joel Hill for helping us in the early development of the game. They were a great help.
And if you ever want to come play our game, and if you haven't played it yet, you should come by our booth and play it.
All right, thank you. Up next is Shadowlight Gaming with Snapback, which is a speed-running puzzle platform.
We are Shadowlight, and this is Snapback. I'm Jack Bolton, here with Logan Thomas, Gracie Donovan, Daniel Page, Logan Hickman, and James Garland. For the past 10 weeks, we've been hard at work creating the ultimate speedrunning puzzle platforming experience. In Snapback, you play as a robotic citizen that lives under the oppressive human regime known as GovCorp. After being contacted by a hacker, you are freed from the code that binds you and recruited to join the resistance. We'll start by breaking down the development of Snapback, starting with our art team. We'll discuss the style of our game, then moving to our design team, where Daniel and I will discuss the design process. Lastly, our programming team will discuss all the challenges that we presented. Representing our art team, Gracie Donovan and Logan Thomas.
Hi, I'm Gracie Donovan, and I'm the lead 2D artist.
And I'm Logan Thomas, the 3D art lead, and we're the art team for Snapback. So to start off in pre-production, there were a number of problems that we needed to solve. The first one was, what's our game going to look like? So we knew that a realistic art style wasn't really obtainable in the timeline we had for this project, so we decided to go with a more stylized route for the game. We also wanted to make sure that all of our assets looked like they belonged together in the scene. So we decided to break down modeling and texturing into separate jobs. I would handle all the modeling, and Gracie would handle the texturing for the game.
One of the first things I did to ensure that there was a consistent look throughout the game was create a limited color palette, which was used throughout the game in assets such as the UI elements, textures, and effects. I then took that limited color palette and curated a library of about 70 smart materials that further pushed the cohesive look of our game and sped up the texturing process for the models I received from Logan.
So there's roughly 100 unique 3D assets in Snapback. These range from the rigged enemies that you'll see inhabiting the environment, the modular kits, all the environment props that make up the environment, and of course the individual elements of our diegetic UI system.
It was really important to our team that we created an immersive experience, which is reflected through our UI. One of my favorite examples would be our settings menu, which we placed inside of a toolbox, where you as the robot can go and reconfigure your settings. My second favorite would have to be our level selection, which we placed inside of the computer console, where you can go select one of the lovely levels designed by our design team.
Again, my name is Jack Boland, the team lead and lead game designer for Snapback. And the design for Snapback was focused around creating an immersive, high-octane experience. And one way we achieve this was by creating a tier system that encourages replayability of each level. The main mechanic is built around a two-part ability, teleport and snapback. Snapback is a unique ability that quickly pulls you physically through space, where you collide with everything in your path. This requires reverse traversals of levels and constant environmental awareness, as every obstacle and every second counts.
Hello, my name is Daniel Page, and I was the level designer for Snapback. Snapback features 11 fairly short levels, and I did this for a few reasons. Some levels work, short levels work much better with the teleport and Snapback mechanic. Another reason is that the shorter levels were a lot more approachable to people trying to speed run the game. We wanted to make sure a lot of people can try playing Snapback, and dying halfway through a 40-second level feels a lot better than dying halfway through like a 5-minute, 10-minute level. And lastly, shorter levels condensed a lot of the action down into smaller stretches, which in the end really complemented the core design of the game. Another design feature for one of these levels is they feature alternative routes, which present players with a choice when they're choosing which way to go. Some easier and take longer to complete, and some that are hard to complete, but and at one time. Another design, once we finished the design process, the programming team had to bring it to life.
Hi, I'm Logan Hickman, and I'll be a programmer.
And I'm James Coleman, I'm a backend programmer.
So there are several systems that we had to tackle when we were implementing Snapback. First was the Snapback mechanic. We do this by combining ray tracing and a collider system. So while you're being physically pulled back through the world space in Snapback, you have colliders on you that are detecting the damage. But in order to really create a good user experience, we needed to predict whether you were going to be able to safely snap back or not. And for that, we use a system of ray trace calls in order to tell the player whether they're safe to snap back or not. Another decision that we made was to completely not use Cinemachine and make all of the animations by hand. So all of the diegetic menu and animations were made by hand with programming and math and not with an external library. We also wanted to put our game on Steam and integrate Steamworks, which is Steam's backend, and James is going to talk a little bit more about how we did that.
We decided to use Steamworks for leaderboards and achievements. We knew that the game still had to work as a standalone on Edge. To achieve this, I made a system that tracks Steam values independently, and then Steam kicks into that so it can work simultaneously. And for conclusion, I'm going to hand it back to Logan.
I think that I can speak for the entire Shadowlight team when I say that these past 9 weeks and the 1,300 hours that we've put in have resulted in a product that we are very, very proud of. I would love if everyone could come and check out Snapback over there. If you're able to achieve S tier on any of the levels, then we do have a raffle giveaway. We'll be giving away a hat and a t-shirt, a hat, and then a set of swag with magnets and stickers. We definitely appreciate you all coming out today to support the event, check us out, check out all the other teams here. If you're interested in more information about our game, our team, how it came together, then please come and talk to us after this presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Up next is going to be Dreamweaver Design with their game Lockdown, which I do want to note for those of you who are game devs in here, this is the only team that decided to use the Unreal Engine. Everyone else was doing Unity, so this is the Unreal team.
Hello, I'm Stephen Thompson. I'm the head programmer.
I'm Franklin Clodfelter. I did a lot of the 3D art and texture.
I'm Spencer Groman, 3D modeler and texture artist.
My name is Corey Hitchcock. I did a lot of design work, including systems and narrative design. I also did the voice acting for the voiceover, and I was the secondary programmer.
Hi, I'm Kristen Stetz. I'm the environment artist. I'm also one of the 3D modelers, a 2D artist. I also did our UI and our graphic design.
Hello, I'm Ben Duckett, and I am the team lead of this wonderful group, and I was an artist. We have a video we're going to be playing, so we'll step aside and let it play. Almost. I saw 53 seconds. The intro is only like a minute, so it's not that long. No, no.
Okay.
It's there we go.
Oh, we were ahead of time.
Hi, I'm Stephen Thompson. I'm a level, interactions, UI, and movement programmer for Lockdown. In order to make Lockdown feel as good as possible, testing out different options for interacting with and destroying objects was necessary. Throughout the development of the game, many things were optimized and changed so the game could work, run, and feel smooth to play. Chaos destruction was considered, but in order to make this game perform well on most setups, we decided to grant the gift of chaos destruction to only a piggy bank to optimize overall performance. I worked with the artists to make the interactions with their assets as satisfying as possible, concocting many blueprints to go along with them from the piggy bank to the sprinkler system. I had had the task of ensuring all the objects in the game can interact with each other and the player, so that the other game blackouts seamless to initiate. This was an essential task to do.
Hello everyone, my name is Corey Hitchcock. I worked on systems, game, and narrative design, as well as secondary programming and audio. When crafting Lockdown, we started from the basic concept of the player being isolated in a bunker and needing to escape. Since the theme of the project was break the rules, we wanted to express that both literally and metaphorically. Literally, we wanted the player to break the bunker's rules and receive feedback reinforcing this from the AI voiceover. Metaphorically, we wanted to break the rules of an escape room or an exploration game. Traditionally, these games involve light puzzle elements or minimal interaction with the environment. We wanted to make a game where the player smashes through that environment instead. However, we did require progress gates in the form of locked and destructible doors to provide structure to the gameplay. Once we settled on environmental destruction as the main mechanic, the narrative evolved to bring in written notes and other clues that provide context to the player. I think these elements combine really well to make a unique experience that can be enjoyed by players of all stripes.
Hello everyone, my name is Ben Duckett and I was one of the artists of the group. My primary positions in this project was team leader, 3D modeler, environmental artist, and technical artist. But I also worked on the camera cinematics and the crowbar swing animation. While Kristen started with the white box in the level, I worked on how we wanted the environment to be portrayed. With the bunker, I wanted to make it look as if it was older than was being furnished with, as if a company bought the abandoned bunker and refurbished it. But also a unique feeling that despite there being no one else around, the bunker was still being maintained and watched. We also wanted the assets to fit the aesthetic of 70s retro with a slight mix of cyberpunk. To help with this, we followed 3 simple rules. Make them bulky, have rounded edges, and be made mostly metal. I had fun working on this project with my team, and I have also learned a lot from it.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Stutz. I am one of the environment artists, a 3D modeler, a 2D artist, the UI artist, and the graphic designer for this game. As one of the environment artists, part of that was making a lot of these assets that could be used modularly. They need a high detail and texture, the lower poly if possible, because we really wanted to fill our environment with a lot of fun stuff for the player without slowing down our game. You can see which pieces are mine through our website if you're interested. Another responsibility of mine was coming up with a rough layout of the flow of our game. Here's some process work photos. This meant keeping good measurements so that when people implemented their modular pieces, it wouldn't cause issues. It was important to make an environment that had space but isn't too big because it's an escape room, which involves a lot of looking around, so you don't want the player to get lost and confused, and it ended up being very successful. I also am the UI artist and the graphic designer, which was a fun challenge because our theme is retro cyberpunk, so I had to come up with a powerful color scheme that reflects the best of both of these. You see, I really got to push this and give our game a face before we even play it, and overall, this was a really fun project, and I really enjoyed working with my team.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Spencer Broman. I'm a 3D modeler and texture artist. Starting off with the crowbar and flashlight, these are the main tools of the player. Because of this, I wanted each of them to stand out. The crowbar goes through a series of differently spaced bevels to help create a softer to harsher edge forms, while the flashlight takes on a simpler, sleek prototype appearance inspired by Cal 9000 from the 1968 film A Space Odyssey. Next up is the piggy bank. The piggy bank model is constructed to be hollow. There are 2 reasons why. It looks more appropriate when shattered and has the potential to hold certain items inside. Next is the placards. Signage added to the game to help the player become more familiar with what they are. I like the nice submissive touch added to the font, and I found it very eye-catching and fit. Moving on now to the kitchen assets. They are designed to be bulky and rounded with respect to the core retro theme in the rack, and with the design intention of possibly being open closed. Also, the LED lighting aesthetic looks cool in the dark too. Let's take a quick look at that. Pretty cool, right? Again, my name is Spencer Berman. 3D modeler and texture artist. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Franklin Filter. I'm a 3D artist, texture artist, designer, as well as doing some asset implementation and Unreal blueprinting for Lockdown. This computer monitor I took a CRT monitor and tried to give it a retro futuristic cyberpunk feel. This is my security camera. I took inspiration from handheld Super 8 cameras as well as HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. These are the grunge soda cans, originally the form factor of a large Red Bull can, and the robot on the cans actually took inspiration from Rosie from the Jetsons. This is my vending machine. It was inspired by like retro GE refrigerators as well as the Japanese vending machines that I saw in Japan. This is my robot vacuum. It was inspired by trucks and vehicles of the 60s and 70s with blunt noses as well as a vintage Kirby vacuum.
Well, thank you for watching our presentation. We really do appreciate it. We have a booth over in the back left corner. It is by the right hand door, kind of the way you all are sitting. And some of the things at our booth are...
We have a raffle going on at the moment. Please meet us at the booth behind you and enter if you want something.
Don't forget to stop by our Hexbreaker page where you can read more about our game and actually download the build plug yourself.
Also on our HIO page, a bunch of beautiful devlogs. I know you developers love that stuff.
We plan to be around for another 45 minutes to an hour approximately, so if anyone wants to play our game, we're back there.
We also have some handouts, including brochures and note cards that have more information and QR codes so you can take them home and check those out later. Again, we are Dreammaker Designs, and we thank you so much for your attention.
Up next is Seeker Studios with their game, The Searchlight Hotel, which is a story-driven game.
We are Seeker Studios. My name is Connor Cherry. I'm the team lead for the group. I've been here for about 3 years, going through this certificate, and I am also the gameplay programmer for the group.
I'm Tyler Romo. I'm the level designer for the group. I've also been at Wake Tech here for about 3 years on the art track.
Hi, I'm Andrew Cripps. I've been in the SGD Wake Tech program for about 3 years now, in both the art and programming tracks, going for a tech art certificate. I did a lot of the environment art and a lot of the color art that we used for background details.
Hi, I'm Ruby Partington. This is my 3rd year in the SGD art track, and I did the concept art as well as the story development and the opening cinematic for the game, among other things.
Hello everyone, my name is Joel Bautista. I've been in Wake Tech for a little bit over 3 years, and I did the 3D modeling and environmental art for the game.
Hi everybody, my name is Alexander Beifeld, and I am a programmer for Seeker Studios. I handled some of the interactions that the player experiences with their environment, as well as some audio. I hope you guys enjoy.
I helped a lot with the art direction and keeping everything in style that we had decided for going forward. We did more cartoony style. I worked a lot on the modular aspects of the walls and floors and ceilings. And I also did a lot of the clutter art. A lot of the clutter that you see all over the place is my stuff in, and I worked on keeping the textures in that painted style very well.
I worked on the elevator, which was crucial to traversing the different levels of the hotel. Joel had modeled the elevator for me, and I took that and tried to create something realistic to the player. The animations I built were just opening and closing of the doors, with the sounds added in the background that allowed for the illusion. You were actually only teleporting from elevator to elevator. I was also the primary sound designer and programmer for this tech. I had looked through many sounds searching for those that would mesh well with our game. Atmospheric and slightly creepy were the main background sounds, while realistic sounds were used to interact with different objects such as doors and doors. I also created the event system inside the game that is called when certain notes are collected, such as the beginning notes where rubble starts falling behind you, trapping you inside, or a new passageway being opened by some unknown force. It was crucial to not go too far with these dynamics, and I wanted to make sure to keep the player involved while also intrigued.
I worked on concept art, story development, and art pieces for the menu and for the hotel. I also did some modeling, but what I spent the most time on was the opening comic cinematic. I wanted to show off the main character, Fran's motivation for coming to the hotel before the player really got into the meat of the game. And I thought that that sequence would be a good way to show it off.
So I pretty much did the level design for the entirety of the game. Levels were made modularly using different kinds of walls and floors and texturing for each of the rooms and the different floors of the hotel. The theme of the design was to make it more like an abandoned hotel, so a lot of the areas are very scratched up, and there's a lot of dirt and a lot of intricate detail to kind of give it that abandoned look. Aside from that, I also did environment art, which was basically just contributing more to that theme of an abandoned old 70s hotel.
I'm the project manager, so I have done a couple different things in the project. I have worked mainly on the interaction programming with objects such as doors, drawers, and cabinets. I have also worked on the art for the main theme. I took Ruby's paintings and made them look like an old Polaroid. I also added colliders to objects and tested to make sure they do not conflict with the character's model.
Hello again, guys. I was one of the 3D models and environmental artists for this project. I also did the lighting and worked alongside two of my colleagues designing the game UI. One of my favorite assets was the boiler, which I had a lot of fun painting.
Thank you guys for your attention for our game. I know other groups have mentioned their tables, so I will as well. If you haven't played yet, please come over to our table over there. We have free candies. You don't have to do anything. So feel free to come by anytime.
It was so much fun getting to work on this game, and we really do thank you for coming out to see this. We've also got postcards.
Yay! Thank you for coming, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you all of you guys.
Thank you everybody for coming and seeing our game. It was very fun creating this project with this wonderful team.
And make sure to check out our itch.io page with our full game that you can play for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming. It's been an honor.
we have our last team coming up. It is Shattered Web Digital with their game Hexbreaker, which is a turn-based roguelike.
Alright, good afternoon everyone. We are Searchlight Hotel and our game is Hexbreaker. I am Connor. I am the team's resident tech artist.
I'm Dan Sanchez and I'm the programmer. My name is Dylan. I am the other programmer. I'm Jackson Baldwin and I'm the 3D environment artist.
Hello, my name is Arissa and I was in charge of the character development, the interface assets, as well as all the animations for the characters. We've also prepared a trailer for you guys to watch that is also shown at the beginning of our game.
Alright, so my first job with the team is going to be the rigging, which takes all the wonderful animations made by Arissa and is going to set it up so our program such as Maya can animate and move and manipulate our objects in a fluid way. So coming up on scene here soon, you will see the moving bones and the attached models. Another task that I was set to do was going to be the visual kind of effect for it. So it's going to be various shaders and particles and systems that really help give player feedback. So with that, the goal I have to have was creating almost a more visual noise that isn't hindering to the player's peripheral. So what that might look like is a kind of layering in the background. It's going to be some kind of buffer between our midgrounds and our foregrounds, and maybe even something that kind of blends together the ground and the prop placement and just really ties our scene together as a whole. Other additions might be the lighting and the particle kind of work, setting up little flares on hits and impacts to really make our game feel alive.
Hey everyone, once again, I'm Dan Sanchez. I was one of the programmers for this project. My favorite part of working on Hexbreaker was bringing everyone's ideas together into a playable version of the game. The first thing that was the challenge for me was coming up with a way to ensure that our game was fast-paced, satisfying, and fun to play. So one way that I achieved that was creating the QTE system that you're seeing up here. Doing so gives the player agency and allows them to feel the impact of their actions right as they're performing them. And while performing them well, gives them that rewarding feeling of executing a well-done job. Not only that, but it also adds variety to our gameplay by changing it up depending on the enemy type and depending on what kind of action talismans they use.
So, hello again. My name is Dylan, and I'm the other programmer on this project. Being a programmer on this project meant that I had to, in essence, figure out how to program with rules, which was the theme that we were all given for this. So, to do that, I had to make a system that was capable of hindering the player, but as well as a system that you could remove from the game at will. This spurred the creation of the Hexbreaker and Curse system for which the game is named. So, from the beginning, the game was always meant to be a roguelite, which means that failure is kind of a part of the experience. In between each failure, the player needs to improve in some way. From this, the talisman system was created. Talismans are things that you can acquire after any encounter in the entire game, and they will either permanently improve your stats or improve your stats during that run during combat. And these were really hard to implement because they had to be saved into the system, and they also had to impact combat directly. So that was definitely the most difficult part for me. But my favorite thing to do was the randomization. Roguelites generally have a ton of randomization. So I randomized the overworld map, the talismans themselves, all sorts of things. And one of the things that I randomized was the characters, the enemies that can generate in combat. So I will hand you over to our character artist.
Hello, my name is Arissa, and I was in charge of creating the character designs, which we'll start with the player. And we wanted to separate the player from the enemies, so we chose reds and yellows to represent the fiery nature of where Rosalind comes from. In contrast with the enemies, where we have dark blues and iridescent aquas in their color schemes. I use various programs such as ZBrush, Maya, and Clip Studio Paint in my character development. I also created the unique animations based on each character's appearance, such as the wide hand motions and the flowy cape on Rosalind compared to the boss's muddy movements when the player encounters him. Or such as the Horde Haunter, which utilizes a spike on its arm to fight. Or the Wanderer, which has a lot of focus on its weaponized tongue movement. And to match those characters, here is our environment artist.
Hello again, I'm Jackson Baldwin, our 3D environment artist. From the very beginning, we knew we wanted our environments to be spooky, like it would be in the spirit realm. So we came together, and personally, I wanted to create a large variety of objects to go in the different environments. So one outdoor scene wouldn't do. I had to do a whole bunch of different scenes. So we settled on marsh, ruins, and cathedral, but then later on, we added a training scene where the player can practice the quick time events at their will with no consequences. It was a nice break from all of the dark blues and spooky tones when I got to do the bright green scene, which was all a minute ago. Using tiling textures, trim sheets, modular assets, and a whole lot more. Foliage, I had to do a lot of foliage, never done that before. But I thought it turned out really well, and I was able to fill my environments completely and fit the theme and make them immersive and pretty good.
Alright, so we are Shadowwork Digital, and we bring you Hexbreaker. We appreciate you all coming out here tonight. I know we're almost done, so bear with me. We are in the back. If you look and haven't played our game yet, please do come visit us.
And for everyone in the audience, you're now hexed. If you would like to remove it, please come to our booth.
So that was it for our presentations. Thank you all for coming. I will put the QR code up here in a moment for you if you have not done the feedback yet. There's also QR codes all over the place. I do recommend going around, playing all the games, give them the feedback that they need. We'll be here for a while. Is there still food? Does anyone know? Still food out there? Yes, so there's still food out there, so if you're not eating, please go eat. Yes. So thank you all, and please come back next year. We hope to be even bigger then. Thank you.